Welcome to Silver Grain Connection, the entire world of analog photography in a podcast. Hello, welcome to Silver Grain Connections. I'm Kara Schuler, the developmental editor of Silver Grain Classics magazine.
I'm Eric Stixbier, photographer and German podcaster.
And I'm Marvin Almutzayan, the editor-in-chief.
We are here with Brian Chiminelli, who is joining us from New York. Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we are so much looking forward to talking to you. You wrote a great article for us in our most recent issue of Silver Grain Classics. That's issue number 18. We really enjoyed having you as a contributor this time. I'm just going to tell our audience very briefly, you are a high school teacher and photographer. Your high school is in Long Island in New York. And you had a really cool mobile darkroom project that you did with your high school students. But before we get to talking about that, I just wanted to ask you, how did you get started in photography?
I think I'm kind of a little bit fortunate. You know, my parents were really interested in photography growing up. My mom was big into, I don't ever remember her not having a camera in her hand, whether it be at like our sporting events or, family outings or, anything like that. And my first camera was actually, we were just talking about it off the recording, was my first camera was her Nikon EM. That was my first camera I ever got. My father was big into Chrome prints. We had the enlarger and everything in our basement, and I kind of, I remember being like 6 years old and being like, what is this giant machine down here? And him showing me how all the stuff worked and everything. And then just like everybody else, it kind of caught the bug. And I've had some really incredible teachers along the way. In high school, we had a phenomenal darkroom where I went to school growing up, and it just kind of kept with me. So it's been awesome. I guess I'm 38 years old. I think I've been taking photographs for probably 30 of those 38, and really enjoy it. Now I'm so glad that I get to share all the experiences with my students.
That is so cool. Chrome prints. Wow. I'm assuming you don't do any of those these days, since I think we only know of one Chrome printer working right now. So you're probably not him.
Nope,
but
not him.
What kind of photos do you make now these days?
So I think I don't know. I had some really, like I said, my teachers were great growing up. I could tell you like Mr. Malley, my high school photography teacher, but everything that I had done growing up was all black and white. So, a lot of T-Max, a lot of Tri-X, and color had kind of like, I guess a lot of like really traditional darkroom teachers that I had growing up thought color was more of a fad, and it was more about the black and white stuff. So that was photography for me. But within the last few years, the encouragement of my wife, I've really kind of delved down the color film rabbit hole. So I've been shooting a lot of color. I'm really loving the Cinestill films that have been coming out lately. I've been shooting a lot of 800T. I have a 3-year-old daughter at home, so she takes up a lot of my time during the day. So a lot of my shooting is at night, and I like kind of messing around with available light, and sometimes I'll go out and I'll bring out some battery operated RGB LED light panels to cast some cool illuminations on things. But yeah, I'm a guy who just kind of like, I just love having my camera in my hand. I love being creative with it and having fun with it. I'm not a people shooter. I like shooting places and things and objects. I always tell my students when I'm taking pictures, it's more about trying to capture a mood more than it is about capturing people or anything like that. I want people to kind of get a feeling when they look at my work, and that's kind of where I've been at lately. And again, that's been more of just personal taste, but also just necessity, just the times that I've been able to shoot and get out. So it's been fun. It's been a really cool last couple of years doing all that kind of stuff.
What kind of subjects are you teaching at school?
So we have our curriculum is a little weird. I will tell you that much. And just kind of getting into the whole darkroom here and our process. So I've been at Jericho High School now for 8 years. This is my 8th year here. I was actually, my first 3 years, I was an elementary school teacher here in the building. So I was just, in one of our buildings. We have Three elementary schools, one middle school, which is, I guess, grades 6 through 8, and then our high school is 9 through 12. So when I got here and I moved up to the high school, our photography program was kind of stepping into a more digital world. The darkroom is kind of petering out. The film aspect of everything, with things being so expensive and the prices starting to rise up a little bit, kind of made some things a little bit cost prohibitive. So our darkroom, when I first got here, was actually used for private studio space for most of our AP kids, with the exception of the, rare cyanotype or anthotype stuff. So the whole enlarger was outfitted, was built here at school. I want to say that the most recent data that I can get is from 1968. And we had a lot of Omega B2 enlargers, some other Omega things that were here since the darkroom was made. So a lot of the machines had fallen into disrepair. A lot of my job to try to get the darkroom back up and running was repairing those machines. So the first year that I was here was a lot of repair, getting everything going, until we can kind of be at the spot where we're in, now, which has been obviously, interrupted by the pandemic and having our school going totally virtual, and then having hybrid learning. But like I said, so because the darkroom had kind of fallen out of popularity for a little while, a lot of our programs had went more of the digital route. So on paper, and as far as the media department here in Jericho is concerned, we have classes like, we have media arts, which is kind of like an introductory to Photoshop and Illustrator and all those things, but more with a fine arts kind of focus. So using those softwares for illustration, and other kind of like fine artsy kind of practices. Yeah, so we had photography 1 and 2, which is our introductory level courses. Photography 3, which is like an intermediate to advanced level course. Then we have AP photography and St. John's University photography. Those are both college level photography courses that we teach here in the high school. And then we also have a graphic design course. We actually don't have a specific film photography course here anymore. So what my job is kind of to get kids exposed to as many different types of photography, and then I try to be as flexible in our curriculum as I possibly can. So we have students here who are doing a lot of digital work. We have students who take up film and gravitate towards film, and now once they learn how to do it, that's all they do. All of our projects, all of the topics that we do, they're doing all film photography, darkroom, traditional darkroom stuff. And then marrying that technology, we do have some students who love to shoot with film, and then we have the ability to digitize and scan all of our negatives and everything like that here as well. So whether they're shooting black and white, color, we have some slide shooters as well. We can do all of that here in-house, scan it, or use our enlargers to do, like I said, RA4 processing, your traditional black and white processing. We have students who are experimenting with cyanotypes, anthotypes, chloroprints. It's kind of a little bit crazy. Sometimes my head spins when I'm trying to figure out who's doing what and how they're doing this and whatever, but it's realistically the best thing for our program, without having to cannibalize from somewhere else.
Well, that's amazing, to be honest. Because
That's
if
a
I just
huge
think,
program, yeah.
yeah, and if you think about, I mean, maybe it's important to explain a little bit for our German audience, because here in Germany, we don't have photography classes. I mean, some at my time, we had a darkroom, but having really a program, that is really an amazing thing.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I think I need to be just 100% upfront and honest. I teach at one of the top public schools in the entire nation of the United States. So we're a really accomplished school. Our kids are winning Intel finalists awards for science and doing incredible things with math. I mean, there are kids here that are doing things that, sometimes I can't believe. If they looked at my high school transcript, I don't think they would let me actually teach here, especially with some of the grades that I got. But on top of all of that, we have an incredible community and administrative staff, not just at the building level, but at the district level, who's so supportive of the arts. Whenever I need something crazy, I always say, I'm never meant with questions of why. The only questions that I get is what can we do to help? So, and what we found, because of the academic rigor of a lot of these courses and the pressure that these kids are to perform, and not only for themselves, but compete with their classmates and trying to get some of the top universities in the world, having some downtime during the day, whether that be in fine arts, whether that be in physical fitness, whether that be in photography, whatever we can offer, and we do have a tremendous different number of elective courses here, whatever we can help them to kind of just have 40 minutes just to unplug, not worry about the academic rigor, and just kind of focus on being creative. Our school has been so supportive with that. So, like I said, I'm tremendously lucky and fortunate to be here, and just being at a place where they're encouraging and supportive, and just want to see the program continue to move forward.
As you mentioned the rising prices, who's funding the darkroom work?
So all of our darkroom stuff that we do here is all of our schools are allotted a certain number of budgets based on the budget for the school. So we have a budget that is for our entire high school art program. So not only are we purchasing things for our darkroom, but we're also purchasing stuff for our digital end of the program. So like if we need new cameras or anything like that, that comes out of that same budget, but it also comes out of our studio art budgets as well. So, I have very good relationships with a lot of the teachers that are here, and we get together and we talk about how we can split that money up the best possible way that we can, and make sure that our fine arts students are being supportive, but also our high school, our photography and digital photography students are being supported as well. But like you said, things are getting a little bit crazy, and however we can stretch things, we do. We use some budget level stuff, and so like we use a lot of Arista brand papers, Arista EDU papers, Arista EDU films, which is a Fomapan equivalent, and then getting creative with chemistry. We have a vacuum sealer here that I use to kind of prolong the life of stuff. So once everything's opened, nothing stays just air opened. We vacuum seal everything just to get the maximum shelf life out of everything, and just being creative with that, and stretching our budget as best as we can. But yeah, so our school our program's funded with the budget from the school. But like I said, everybody loves film, and I equate a lot of the equipment now to kind of like pianos, where like we have last year we had nine enlargers that were donated to me for the program. And like I said, it becomes like, oh, well, my dad was a photographer, my mom was a photographer, and they're no longer with us, and we have all this equipment, and we don't want to get rid of it, we don't want to throw it out, but I don't know what to do with it. Where can we go? And that's when I try to find as many different things. So I do a lot of outreach in the community and talk to a lot of people around. So all of our machines have been replaced with all brand new, well, not brand new, but new to us, Bessler 23C2s and 23C3s. We have a Super Chromega machine here that can do 4x5. We have a lot of different Bessler color machines here. So it's really just kind of a marriage of both. Again, we don't publicly take donations. That's something that our school has a policy with. We don't like to do that. Like I said, our taxpayers pay a lot of money to be here in Jericho and to be supported by our school. So stuff like that is just kind of supplemented and helps our program just a little bit. But yeah, no, we're totally self-sufficient, and it's like I said, it's really special to be a part of.
Do the kids have to pay tuition fees, or is it just funded by state?
Yeah, it's just state. So we're, like I said, we're a public high school, so that goes into your regular, our school taxes here for living on Long Island. You have property taxes and school taxes. So anybody who's within our district, within I guess it's done geographically. So whoever's within our school boundaries attends Jericho High School. So those kids come here. Otherwise, they're going out to a different school.
It's very fascinating, because I think in Germany it would never be possible to have something like that in a state-funded school.
Yeah, like I said, we're and different schools have different things. So it's realistically, I think there aren't very many high schools left in Long Island that have dark rooms. It's just a matter of how much your administration is willing to support you, and how much your students want it, and that kind of works together like that. And like luckily for us, we have both of those things. Like I said, we have a tremendously supportive administrative staff, and we have students who are just so excited to get in here and get their hands dirty and get working. So that kind of stuff helps really prolong this program and keeps everything on the ground.
Yeah, but Brian, I mean, you're leaving out an important part of the equation there, and that's you. because I'm sure that this program would not be having so much to do with film if it weren't for you and your passion for film photography, you know? And I think that just has to be said at this place that, you know, it's great that you are at a supportive school that can, you know, has the funding to be able to help you. But I'm sure you are really a key part of what makes this program possible. So don't sell yourself short there. Uh, but I think there's also this is a good place to segue into your mobile darkroom project, which is what you wrote about in Silver Grain Classics magazine. So, yeah, just tell us about that because it's such a fascinating idea. You know how it started, how you ended up making it happen. So, yeah, tell us about that.
Well, thank you very much. And like I said, I always when I really appreciate the kind words and the comments and everything like that. But I always say that I I'm the lucky one here. Like the kids that we have are so tremendous, and they help me just as much as, if not more, than I hope that I help them. So I'm just so fortunate to be here and do the things that I do, and it's great. But yeah, the mobile darkroom. So I think I mentioned it in the article, and it's something that we've been talking about, just trying to grow the program. We're an elective course, so students have to sign up to take our program. So, and even if they want to take our program, depending on the level, the number of courses that they have available in their schedule, or some of the mandatory courses that they have to take, there might not be room. So our job here is, especially as an elective teacher, somebody like, again, we're a non-required class. The required courses here in high school level in New York State are mathematics. You have a foreign language component. You have science, history. Well, English, language arts, and then everything else can get filled in with elective courses. So we're one of those courses. So me and my colleagues having jobs and continuing to do what we want to do here is all based upon enrollment. And the hardest part about this darkroom and is that it's hard to share. I can't tell you. I do so many different photographs here. I work on the yearbook, and I do a lot of the I photograph for different events that we have here, and we have students come down. We have a giant, we have part of the room that we're in is a photography studio. So I'll have kids come down and shoot to shoot headshots or whatever for like plays or whatever. And they're like, "Oh, what's that room back there?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's the dark room." And they're like, "Oh, I've been here for 4 years and I had no idea we even had a darkroom program." Just because kids can be so tied up in sciences or in histories or with mathematics that they don't make it to my end of the my end of the world, so to speak. So we've always been talking about what can we do to get analog photography out of the dark, bring it out of here, get it out of this space, and set it up wherever we want, whenever we want, to kind of generate a buzz and get kids talking about photography and ask their guidance counselors once it's time to start picking their courses to take our courses. So we had kind of joked around about like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could just take the whole darkroom to where we wanted. And one of the big events that we have here is our course selection or our course information night or our curriculum fair. And that's an opportunity for all of us elective teachers to kind of go out there and talk about to incoming students who have been here, parents of students and community members, about all the different course offerings that we have. And like I said, we were like, oh man, I wish we could bring the darkroom there, and that's where my gears started tinkering. My father is an incredibly smart person, and he can build anything. He reads stuff, and he can just do it. And kind of being hands on with that, he's taught me those things. So like I said, and having that mental approach to just anything's possible as long as you stick your mind to it. I thought we could definitely do something like this. So I had about 2 or 3 days to kind of figure out how we could get the dark room into the gym here at the high school. So we started looking around for things that we could use as far as light safe environments. We had talked about maybe with the potential about using some of the plant pop-up grow rooms and grow tents that we could use, but it just wouldn't have gotten here in time. So we had to build an entire structure. And I just so happened to have a piece of this half-inch foam core board in the back of my room, and I was like, that's it. So within 3 days, I just went from like an idea to this totally functional dark room. That's great. It has a few little light leaks and a few little issues, but that night we were able to set up a mobile dark room in the gymnasium and have, I guess it was probably intended by a couple hundred community members and students who got to come in. We invited our students down that night to get to work. We had an enlarger set up in there. We had trays set up in there. The best part about the foam core was that we were able to staple right to the outside of the room, so this way they can kind of have their prints hanging and drying. But we were making test strips and prints all night. We were inviting community members to come in, and I can't tell you how many times we were talking to parents about, oh man, this takes me back. I remember that fixer smell when I was in high school. I used to love the dark room, and we had them in there getting their hands dirty, agitating trays and focusing, and it was really, really, really special. And it's like I said, it's certainly a night that I won't forget. And I think the best part about it was usually when we have this night, it's a lot of interaction with myself and our staff with the parents, and them asking me about which course they can take and all this kind of stuff. But what was, I think, the most amazing part about the whole night was just watching our students who were there to kind of volunteer. And again, that's all that it was all volunteer. They wanted to come down. I didn't have to twist anybody's arm. I was like, hey, does anybody want to come to the gym tonight and use our mobile darkroom to make some prints? And I had to turn kids away. I just had too many kids who wanted to sign up to do it. So, but watching those kids interact with the community, like, when I was talking to one parent, they would jump in like, hey, can I help you? Do you have any questions? What can we offer? Did you see this? And it was such a special night, and yeah, it was great. But yeah, the darkroom was a smash hit, and yeah, it's amazing what you could do out of a little bit of plastic and a little bit of foam core. It was really, really special.
How old are the kids usually you work with, and at what age does it make sense to work in the dark room, in your opinion?
Well, our kids are ages 14 to 18. And as far as, so like I said, we have kids from ninth grade levels, they're 14, and by the time they're senior, they can get up to 18 years old. Some of them are 17. As far as when they should work in the darkroom, whenever they want. I mean, I've talked to people who have their 6-year-old daughters in there and making prints and things like that. And I think the most important thing as a teacher is when there's an interest, you nurture it. And it doesn't matter when that happens. It doesn't matter if a kid, later on in the year decides that maybe they want to try film, even after that we'd already gone through it. It doesn't matter if it's, they're ninth graders and they want to try something a little bit more advanced early. It's my job to kind of nurture that, because I feel like if you stifle it at that moment, you lose that potential to keep that kid in the program or even teach them something that they could be passionate about forever. So, yeah, I don't think there's a good time. I think that time is when you want. And as long as you have somebody there who's willing to kind of get you through the ropes and show you what's going on, I think that's the time. And especially now with YouTube, there's so much stuff. I tell my kids, and it's a really important thing. And I think that it's an important key thing for any teacher. It doesn't matter what you teach, but I'll tell them, I understand that I'm a teacher and I understand I'm up here teaching you things, but I want you to understand that I'm still a student also, and you're going to ask me questions and I'm not going to know the answers to anything. And that's okay, and we'll find it out. I mean, there are so many people out there who are smarter than me. YouTube is an incredible resource. Different photography groups in Facebook. I mean, Karis and I met on a darkroom photography group on Facebook. That's how the whole thing got, our relationship got started. And there's such an opportunity to learn now with all the different technology and things that are available. There's the best time to, I guess my answer to your question is the best time to start your printing is right now. It's right now.
Well,
if you're interested in darkroom photography, get going. Figure out what you can do. You can work in a bathroom. It doesn't matter. If you have that interest, the information is out there that you can get started, even if you don't have somebody to walk you through it. Just go for it. Get your hands dirty.
I understand that you also teach digital techniques, how to use Photoshop or some kind of editing software and stuff like that.
Yeah. So our school, we have, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
The thing is just, do you see any kind of difference? I mean, just for the development of the children, is there something that analog photography or working with with film in the darkroom, does that give anything to the students? I mean, do they understand things, or just is there a different way of that helps them in their development?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, one of the things that I think, and I mentioned it in the article, a lot of people think that all of our kids today that are coming through our buildings, and kids that you interact with on a daily basis are so dependent on technology and everything. And yes, like we live in a technological world now. Like, things are done on computers now, and things are digital now, and that's fine. But these kids are clamoring for something that's real. They want real experiences. We talk about, I give the example all the time. When I go out there, I use Fuji cameras for digital photography, and I don't know what it is. I'm not a phone photography person. I have the iPhone 13 Pro with all the different lenses on it, and I just don't use it to take pictures. It's not for me. But when I go out with my Fuji cameras and I'm taking pictures of my daughters or my family, or we're going out to whatever it is, I come back with we could have been gone for an hour, and I'll come back with 400 photos on my phone, and I don't remember taking a single one of them. Um, the big word that I use for my kids is craft. I want them to be able to craft something, and analog photography does that. It slows them down. It makes them really think about, hey, I've only got 24 shots on this roll. Is this picture worth it? Is this moment worth it? Is my framing right? Is the lighting good here? Am I happy where the subject is? It really really slows them down. I mean, I think that for a lack of a better term, photography now, because of the mobile phone and because of the massive storage and data that's available on these digital cameras, a lot of photography just becomes falls into a digital waste category. I mean, I'll go out and I'll take 400 photos, and I might get 10 or 12 keepers that I'm really really proud of. But when I go out and I shoot 36 rolls, or even medium format, when I'm shooting, anywhere from 10 to 12 images per roll, I'll come back with 4 or 5 pictures that I'm really really proud of. And while that doesn't seem like it's a lot, I mean, that hit rate for the amount of pictures that I've taken is way higher than I did when I was shooting digital. And our kids notice that. They're really wrapped up in that whole thing. And I don't know. I mean, you guys are all photographers and experienced with the whole thing. There's something about shooting on film that makes moments and memories seem more authentic. It makes it seem more real, and our kids notice that. The best part is when I show them some of my work. And I do a lot of, like I said, I've been shooting a lot of color, and as much as I love getting my hands dirty with RA4 processing, RA4 chemistry has become harder and harder to come by. So a lot of the stuff that we'll do, and a lot of the stuff that my students love to do too, is develop film and then digitize it. Um, and then use Photoshop and Lightroom and all of those things to kind of tweak and work with the colors. But when I bring film in and I show them pictures of things that I'm working on, because I think that's a big thing too, is sharing what I'm doing, showing that I'm an active participant in photography, not just a photography teacher, but somebody who's actually working on the craft and still working on practicing my craft and honing my craft. Um, they always ask me, oh, what filter are you putting on that? Is that on Instagram, or are you using a visco filter? How are you getting those colors? How are you doing this? How are you doing that? And it's no, it's not colors. It's not a filter. It's the film. That's what this is doing. And they're like, oh, do you have any more of that? Do you have any more rolls of that? Can I try that? Can I do that? It's yeah, whatever you want. So yeah, no, it does. It teaches them so much, and the kids, and I think, like I said, the best part about that is that the kids notice it. It's not just me telling them that it's going to teach them stuff. It's they notice it, and they're thrilled. I mean, I've had this student who's not even in my classes anymore. I'm actually, like I said, I'm actually talking to you right now from my darkroom in the high school, and I'm looking up at we're doing a lot of C41 processing right now. But I have a student who's been hounding me for about a week because she has a disposable camera that she's got, and she's like, Mr. Sam, I'm not in your class anymore, but can I please come by? Can you please heat up the chemistry? Can I please get in there and do C41? Can I please do this? I have these photos that I just got. I have to see. So yeah, like I said, they're so excited about it, and it's so refreshing to see too. It's really great.
Do the students already have an interest in other retro or physical things like vinyl or similar beforehand, or at least afterwards? Or does this really only relate to photography?
I don't know. It's a weird world right now, right? I mean, there's so much stuff that's old is getting hip again. I mean,
Music
I
cassettes,
think
for
vinyl's
example.
been,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, like I said, I've had my vinyl my vinyl record collection keeps growing, and you're hearing more and more bands that are releasing things on vinyl. I don't know. I don't know if it's growing anything outside of that. Like I don't have kids all of a sudden, dropping off their MacBooks and showing up with typewriters to school the next day. but like they
Well,
they
you should
definitely
ask
do.
Eric. He's a typewriter fan.
They only have 20
They're
or
really
30.
cool. But I am noticing that TikTok and a lot of social media stuff has really blown film up, and that's I think widely due to the popular. It's really helping out our program. Unfortunately, it's hurting other photographers because like a roll of Portra 400 has gone from $12 to like almost 30, and the demand is so high for things, but it's kids are aware of it. Kids are aware of it, and like I said, they want things that are real. They want and film does that. I can't explain it, and I'm sure you guys it's hard to explain either. But the difference between light hitting emulsion and then you developing that and getting a picture there's something way different about that same process, but hitting a sensor and coming up with an image. It's just not the same. It doesn't feel as real as that. And like I said, these kids notice that, they gravitate towards that, and they're so excited to do it. I mean, I've had more conversations with students who have been looking to purchase film cameras and which film camera should I buy over the last 2 years than I've had with those like said same 2 years about kids asking me which digital camera should I buy, which is really, really cool.
So the ratio between the students who do analog photography and digital photography at your school is increasing towards
Yeah,
analog
it's
photography?
definitely so it's definitely still digital heavy. And I think a lot of that too, like you really have to fight to push through the whole instant gratification factor of digital. There are some students who really, really embrace it, and then there are some students who struggle with it, and the time aspect of it, I think, hurts it. And sometimes I would say the interest is universal, but the practice is not. I would say we're probably still like 65-35 digital to analog. And again, that's all depending on the project that we're doing. Some projects that we're doing are really analog heavy. Some projects that we do are more digital heavy. We just did a photography unit on high speed photography. So we were doing like those classic like advertising shots where you're dropping a product or something into a vat of water and getting the bubbles, stuff like that. And we're shooting with cameras here that can shoot anywhere from like 15 frames per second mechanically to 30 frames per second electronic. So like that, I'm not, we're not blazing through
And you're
rolls
doing
of
that
film
on
trying to do
film.
that kind of stuff. No, 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 no.
Oh, it's just.
No, we're doing everything on like
Well,
that.
it's
Like for
technically
that,
possible.
yeah, technically possible. Technically possible. Like I said, my go-to camera of choice is my Nikon F5 right now. That's my favorite camera, and that shoots at a blazing, I think, 8 frames per second. So yeah, it's a little
Yeah,
behind.
that's an
the digital stuff.
expensive. That's then an expensive frame rate.
Yeah, it's a very expensive project for sure, for sure.
So, did you ever hear from any of the other teachers at your school that the students noticed some like cross pollination between, for instance, like chemistry and the photography, the darkroom stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, the cool part about our school is the anytime that we have an opportunity to work at the interdisciplinary, we can. So later in the year, I'm always hanging out in the chemistry room. They're always like, "What are you doing here? You don't belong up here. What's going on? Why are you up in the smart people wing?" But whenever I'm up there, they help me out with things like I said, we just did we made some emulsions. They helped me out with some silver nitrate stuff. But we're actually going to be working with the chemistry classes towards the end of the year. Usually in our school year goes till the end of June. And in the beginning of May is our deadlines for our college level courses. So that's when we're having all of our AP testing, and our college level testing is the beginning of May. So there's a little bit of room in the schedule from the beginning of May to the end of June where we can kind of be really creative in our curriculum. So we're planning on getting together with the chemistry lab and doing some right now, just talking about making our own emulsions and doing things and seeing what we can coat with different emulsions, and trying things on glass with regular black and white emulsions and different things. We're gonna try some cool stuff. I know we talked about maybe possibility of trying to do some like wet plate stuff. I've never done it, but that's never stopped me before. So maybe we'll try some of that things. But yeah, so there's such a really cool opportunity, and the kids are aware of it. And like I said, our kids are super smart. So like when we talk about like things like emulsion processes, and they're like, oh, is that because of the reaction of this, and I'm like, yeah, sure, what, absolutely, that's definitely what it is. You said it, I didn't say it. You, yeah, 100%. But yeah, no, they're definitely aware of it, and they're way smarter than me. Like I said, sometimes I feel like I'm punching way outside of my weight class being here.
Well, I just wanted to clarify for our non-US listeners that AP classes are advanced placement classes because not
Yes.
everybody might be familiar with that term. Um, so I think it's really interesting to think about these kids making photos, after they leave your school as well, taking that with them into the rest of their lives. It's something that I just personally think is such a gift that they're getting through this, the whole intentionality of the process, and yeah, everything we all love about film photography. So I'm assuming that these people are similarly eager to yourself to share it with other people. And I think you said you had some plans to do some community outreach, right?
Yeah, so we've been in touch and trying to figure out an ideal situation. This is the first year where we're kind of quote back to normal. I mean, I know COVID is still a very prevalent thing in our society and everything, but this is the first year where we've been allowed to go back on field trips. We've allowed to had guest speakers come back into the building. Since COVID, things have been a little bit different. So this is our first year where we're kind of back to normal. So like I said, we're very aware of how important the community is here, and even the local Long Island community who's given so much to our program. Like I said, these enlarges that they've entrusted to me, some of these family heirlooms that they've had that they've entrusted to me to now be active in this program. So we've been talking with them. We're still trying to work out the logistics of having a community darkroom day. And again, my whole thing is get the students involved and get the students out there and get them front and center. So I don't want to have anything to do with it. As far as teaching, I want my kids to teach. So they're going to be coming up. We're trying to figure out a way. Either maybe we're thinking about maybe partnering with the local public library, or just getting the word out organically through advertising or emailing our parents. But having a day here on the weekend that our kids are working to take film, maybe digitize film here for people who maybe haven't seen pictures in forever. One of the things that like I will never forget. We had a student here last year who moved here from India, and they had all of their belongings in a storage facility that got flooded, and all of the pictures were destroyed. But fortunately, the mom had all of the negatives in the apartment. So we were actually able to last year digitally scan, you know, dozens and dozens of photos, and uh, I got such a big thank you. The mom came here with tears in her eyes. She's like, I haven't seen these pictures in 15 years since we've been here, and I can't thank you enough. And so we're thinking about having something like that for the community, and having them either bring in their color negatives to get scanned here, or bring in black and white negatives for them to be here in our dark room, and our kids to teach them how to make black and white prints. So that's kind of our community darkroom day that we're trying to figure out the logistics of, and just make sure that we can get it to be working 100% where we're going to be. But actually, excitingly, today we just got notified of our date. We're going to be going down on March 23rd. We're going to be heading down to one of the local elementary schools here in the district, and we're going to be bringing the mobile darkroom and actually a Goonlock Corona C1 ground view camera that I've restored. It's a large format 8x10 camera. We're going to be bringing that down to work with a bunch of fifth graders and show them how to take some pictures on this old school 8x10 camera. We're going to use paper negatives. We're going to develop them right there in our mobile darkroom, in their classroom, in their art classroom, and use our phones to digitize those photos and turn them into positives after we get the negatives. So we're really, really excited. We're going to go down there with myself. Some administration is going to come down, and also 5 members of my digital photography classes, or I'm sorry, my photo 3 class is going to be coming down to work with the kids and show them how to take the exposures, and use a light meter to read the light and set up the lights, and all kinds of stuff like that. So that's going to be a really exciting day, and that's going to be a program, the first of 3 guest appearances that we're going to be doing for the other. We're going to be going to the other schools here coming up in May or June. So we haven't ironed out dates for those. But yeah, so we're really excited. I actually got that information today. So March 23rd is going to be a great day for our district.
Do you have a newspaper at school or any other tie-ins where the students can publish their pictures?
Yeah, so we have the Jer Echo is our school newspaper, but we're so active in tons of different photography competitions and contests throughout the United States. Like I said, we're a small department, but we do very very well. We're actually in a couple different contests right now, so I encourage our kids to get out there, whether it be through school competitions, as far as well, not school, but high school level competitions or open competitions, whatever we can do. But and they get super excited about that. Like I said, this is still very much like an academic heavy school. So anytime that they get an opportunity to submit their work to a contest, that helps boost that resume that they have for going on to the next level. If there's, their colleges or universities, wherever they decide to attend, they love to take that kind of opportunity. So we've had quite a few national award winners here, regional award winners here for their photography, and we have some incredible students who've kind of gone on to do some great things. I have a student who's majoring in forensic photography in Miami. I have another student who's School of Visual Arts Manhattan photography. Actually, two students, School of Visual Arts Manhattan photography, and another student who's out in Northwestern learning who's doing photojournalism there. He was actually just photographing some of the men's college basketball tournaments and stuff. He got officially approved for a press pass, so a lot of his photos have been floating around in not only his school publications but national publications. And I actually helped him when he was here. Again, by helped I mean just kind of give him some advice here and there. Like, he's an incredibly talented photographer and does some incredible work with or without me, I think. But he actually does a lot of work for some different brands and things. He's a brand photographer for some different companies. So yeah, our kids are always out there. They're always kind of submitting their work and hustling and doing what they have to do to kind of get some exposure and use their passion to help leverage their future, which is great, or help promote their future.
So I'm curious. You had some really beautiful quotes from the students in your article in the magazine. What do the kids themselves say about, what they love the most about the experience of, film photography and darkroom printing?
Like I said, I think the thing that they love the most about it is the authenticity of it. And again, they feel so rushed so much of the time. There's always a deadline. There's always a timetable. They've always got a test, or they've always got a paper coming up, or something's always going. Something's always on their mind. Whether they're having stress from in school, whether they're having stress from external sources or athletics, or these kids are so spread out and so thin in some areas that I think the thing that they appreciate the most is, like I said, just the authenticity of analog photography, but also just kind of like the opportunity to just kind of get lost in the moment, whether that be in the darkroom printing, or behind the viewfinder taking photos. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's told somebody that, hey, I'm just going into the darkroom for like an hour or two. I'll be right out. I just got to make a couple prints, and then all of a sudden you're getting a phone call. It's like, hey, you've been gone for 12 hours. Are you okay? And it's like, oh
Yeah, that's something
yeah, sorry about that.
very familiar.
Yeah. So, and the kids feel that, they get involved in here, and whether it just be, finding focus, or, determining what area of the prints need to be burned or dodged, or working on their test strips or something like that. It just gives them 40 minutes just to be really, really present in what they're currently doing, be really mindful about what they're currently doing, and not have to worry about anything else, and just kind of be. And I think, more than anything, I think that's the most important thing that we do here. We offer an opportunity for kids to just be kids, to really enjoy their time, to just not be stressed, not focused on academics, not focused on school, just be focused on what they're doing, with something that they enjoy, and just kind of unplugging for a little bit, which is just, it's so valuable. And not even for them, but I notice it for me personally. Like I said, it's sometimes it's just really, really nice. Most of my photography, I told you in the beginning, that a lot of the stuff that's at night, and I'll go out sometimes at like 12:30, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, just to kind of be out there and be still, and everything's quiet, and you're just kind of behind the viewfinder, and it's just a really, really great opportunity to just kind of just be present. And I appreciate that, and I know my kids do.
Well, that's what we hear very often also from our workshop participants sometimes, when they say, look, I work the entire day on my computer, whether for a bank or in an office, and I don't want to spend my hobby also in front of a computer screen and using software. So that's something like just getting you out of this digital world where you just do something totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's just a break for them. It's I'm in a weird like so I'm 38 years old. So I'm at this weird age where like I'm very much connected to like I remember when film was the primary source of image capturing, and I was actually just talking today with one of my principals about we were actually talking because our Macs are probably we have a Mac lab out in front where we do all of our work, all of our digital processing and photoshopping and stuff. And we were talking about how it's coming time for an upgrade. But I was laughing. I was like, these machines aren't that old, and they're still very very capable. But I remember when I was in second grade, it was my father came home, and he was like he came home with a Packard Bell computer. They don't even make those anymore.
Yeah,
But
Packard Bell.
he yeah, and he was like, Brian, this computer has 1 gigabyte of space in it. Do you know what that means? And I was like, like I said, I'm in second grade. I was like, no, I don't know. He's like, you will never fill this hard drive up in your entire life. He's like, they sent men to the moon with 8 megabytes of space on the space shuttle. You'll never fill this up, you know? So I'm in this weird point in my life where I'm very much connected to today's technology and very much inundated with the Macs and stuff, but very much aware of how it used to be before we were so computer heavy. And it's weird, my kids have no idea like what film is or anything like that. So um, I, it, they do appreciate all this stuff, and it's almost like it's almost like a time machine, just being the opportunity for them. Like it's something that I take for granted, and it's something that's like, yeah, of course, this is how we used to do it, but they never did it, and even in some cases, their parents might never have done it, which is totally wild. Um, yeah, it's so cool. They so appreciate it, and they just so appreciate not being plugged in, and whether it be on their iPads all day. I mean, we are a very heavy tech district. Kids are walking around here not taking notes on notebooks. They're taking notes on their Macs. They're taking notes on their iPads. A lot of the work is handed in digitally. So yeah, just to kind of get away from that computer for 5 minutes, for 40 minutes. Our classes are 40 minutes long. Get away for just 40 minutes. Is big. I can't tell you how many times kids come in here when they have a free period that maybe their teacher was absent. They have a sub. They got a pass. They're coming into the dark room. They're on lunch. They have a lunch period. Instead of they'll come to my classroom, scarf down a sandwich, and then get into the dark room. They really value their time just to not be connected for 5 minutes, and it's really cool.
That seems like a really great thing to wrap on, and it's been such a joy to talk to you, Brian. I'm so happy that you were our guest on the podcast because it's just such a genuine enthusiasm that you have for film. It really shines through, and I've loved hearing all the stories and yeah, hearing that you are passing all that passion along to the kids. And we like to hear that there are new film photographers coming up and the next generation and all that. So thanks so much for telling us about all that.
No, like I said, it's been totally my pleasure, and our kids have been so geeked out ever since they heard about the possibility of this article and having their names in it and everything. So it's been such a great thing, and I can't thank you guys enough. It's really been such a joy and such an honor and an experience, like I said, that I'll cherish forever. So thank you so
Maybe
much.
we should also think about an update in the future about your work, because we also have a blog on silvergrainclassics.com. So if I just invite you or your students, maybe just if they have some interesting ideas, or if some of them or one of them has an interesting project, just contact us, and we would love to publish it on our blog.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I'm always down to collaborate and get our students involved and get more eyes on what the amazing things that they're doing there. So, yeah, no, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, I guess that's a wrap, and we hope everybody will join us next time for the next episode of Silver Grain Connections. Thanks for joining us.
Take care. Bye bye.
See you. Bye.